What would you do if your husband, the man you built everything with, chose another woman while you were 7 months pregnant with twins? Olivia Montgomery was living every woman's nightmare. A powerful CEO husband, a secret mistress, and 17 unanswered calls that changed everything. But instead of breaking down, she did something no one expected. She disappeared. Months later, the world watched as that same betrayed woman reappeared, standing beside a billionaire, holding her twin heirs, and smiling like she'd never known pain. This isn't just a story about revenge. It's about silence, strength, and a comeback so powerful it left the CEO begging for forgiveness he'd never get. Stay till the end, because the final scene will make you rethink what winning really means. The waiting room at Mount Sinai's high-risk pregnancy unit smelled like disinfectant and broken promises. Olivia Montgomery shifted in the uncomfortable plastic chair, her hands cradling her 7-month pregnant belly, where the twins performed their daily gymnastics routine. The clock on the wall showed 3:45. James was 45 minutes late. Again. "Mrs. Montgomery?" The nurse called from the doorway, her kind eyes taking in the empty chair beside Olivia. "Dr. Peterson is ready for you." Olivia stood slowly, her designer maternity dress stretching across her swollen frame. Once upon a time, she'd commanded boardrooms in tailored Armani suits, orchestrating million-dollar deals before breakfast. Now she couldn't even command her husband's presence at a prenatal appointment. Her phone buzzed, a text from James. "Board meeting running late. Start without me." She stared at the message, counting silently to 10. This was the fourth appointment he'd missed. The excuses had evolved from apologetic to perfunctory, each text shorter than the last. She typed back, "Okay," and deleted it. Typed, "The twins are fine, thanks for asking," and deleted that too. Finally, she simply turned off the read receipts and slipped the phone into her purse. "Everything all right?" Dr. Peterson asked as Olivia settled onto the examination table. "Perfect," Olivia lied, forcing the smile she'd perfected during 5 years of marriage. The same smile she wore when investors asked why her name had disappeared from Montgomery Dynamics' leadership page. The same smile she'd maintained when James announced at last year's Christmas party that she'd decided to focus on family. The ultrasound wand was cold against her skin. On the monitor, 2 hearts beat in perfect rhythm. Her son and daughter, the only promises in her life that hadn't been broken yet. "Baby A is measuring right on track," Dr. Peterson narrated. "And baby B is, hold on." She frowned, adjusting the wand. "She's moved into a breech position. Nothing to worry about yet, but we'll need to monitor this closely. Are you experiencing any unusual stress?" Olivia almost laughed. Unusual stress? Her husband hadn't touched her in 3 months. He'd been coming home past midnight, reeking of Tom Ford cologne. Not the Creed she'd bought him for Christmas. His phone was suddenly password protected, and he'd started working out again, dropping 20 pounds and buying suits that cost more than most people's cars. "No unusual stress," Olivia said quietly. Dr. Peterson's expression suggested she wasn't buying it, but medical professionals had perfected their own version of polite blindness. "I want to see you weekly from now on. And Mrs. Montgomery, you don't have to do this alone. We have support groups, counselors." "I'm fine," Olivia interrupted. "Really?" 20 minutes later, she sat in her Tesla in the hospital parking garage, staring at the grainy ultrasound photos. Twin A had his father's strong profile already. Twin B had turned away from the camera, as if she already knew disappointment was coming and wanted no part of it. Her phone rang. James. She let it go to voicemail. It rang again. This time it was Catherine, her best friend since college and the only person who knew the truth about Montgomery Dynamics. That Olivia had written the algorithm that made the company worth 9 figures while James perfected his TED Talk persona. "Liv, are you watching the Tech Summit live stream?" Catherine's voice was tight with something Olivia couldn't identify. "I'm at my prenatal appointment, the one James was supposed to turn on the live stream now." Something in Catherine's tone made Olivia's stomach clench. She pulled up the link on her phone, squinting at the small screen. There was James on stage, confident and commanding in his new Hugo Boss suit, delivering his keynote about innovation through disruption. The camera panned across the audience, then back to the stage where Olivia's breath caught. Victoria Sinclair stood beside James, radiant in a cream silk dress that hugged her nowhere near pregnant figure. She was wearing something on her wrist, something that caught the stage lights, something that looked exactly like the Van Cleef and Arpels bracelet James had claimed was still being custom-made when Olivia's birthday passed 2 months ago. "That's my push gift," Olivia whispered. "Liv," he said he lost it, said the jeweler made a mistake with the engraving. Her voice sounded strange, detached, as if belonging to someone else. On screen, Victoria laughed at something James said, touching his arm with casual intimacy. The gesture was practiced, comfortable. How many times had they rehearsed this performance? The live stream chat was exploding with comments. "Who's the blonde? Power couple goals. Isn't he married? New partnership announcement?" Then the camera caught something else. As James gestured during his speech, his hand briefly touched Victoria's stomach. The touch was gentle, protective, reverent, the way he used to touch Olivia's belly before the twins became real and responsibility became suffocating. "I'm coming to get you," Catherine said firmly. "Stay where you are." "No," Olivia heard herself say. "I need to see this for myself." "Olivia, don't." She hung up and started the car. The tech summit was at the Ritz-Carlton, 12 blocks away, 11 blocks to decide if she was overreacting, 10 blocks to catalog every late night, every excuse, every time he'd flinched when she'd reached for him, 9 blocks to remember when he'd stopped saying "I love you" without her saying it first. By the time she reached the hotel, Olivia had stopped trying to rationalize what she'd seen. The valet took her keys with the practiced discretion of someone used to managing New York's elite drama. Her Louboutins clicked against marble as she crossed the lobby, each step steady despite the trembling in her chest. The conference was breaking for cocktails. Through the ballroom's glass doors, she could see hundreds of people networking, laughing, celebrating James's latest triumph. She spotted him immediately. He had that effect, drawing eyes like he drew investment capital. He was standing by the bar, Victoria beside him, their bodies angled toward each other in the unconscious way of intimates. Olivia's phone rang. James's name flashed on the screen. She looked up to see him dialing while still talking to Victoria, not even breaking conversation. The casual cruelty of it, calling his pregnant wife while standing next to his mistress, finally cracked something inside her. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. She watched him frown at his screen, probably wondering why she wasn't picking up immediately like she always did, like she'd been trained to do. On the 4th ring, she declined the call. James looked up then, his gaze sweeping the lobby as if he could sense her presence. Their eyes met through the glass. She saw the moment recognition hit, watched the color drain from his face. He took a step toward the door, then stopped. Victoria had noticed his distraction and followed his gaze. When she saw Olivia, she didn't look surprised. She looked victorious. Olivia stood there for a heartbeat that lasted a lifetime, one hand protective over her belly, memorizing the scene. Her husband in his expensive suit, standing next to a woman wearing jewelry meant for his pregnant wife, at the pinnacle of success she'd helped him build. Then she turned and walked away. Her phone exploded with calls. James, Catherine, James again. By the time she reached her car, he'd called 17 times. She didn't answer a single one. She never would again. The 12,000 square foot penthouse on Central Park West had never felt more like a prison. Olivia moved through the space methodically, filling a suitcase with the kind of detached efficiency she'd once applied to hostile takeovers. Underwear, maternity clothes. The prenatal vitamins James had complained cost more than most people's groceries. Her phone lit up constantly, buzzing against the marble countertop like an angry wasp. James had called 23 times now. The voicemail started playing automatically through the Bluetooth speakers until she disconnected them. "Liv, where are you? Call me back." "This is ridiculous. We need to talk." "You're being dramatic. It's not what you think." "Olivia, you're pregnant. Think about the babies." "Fine, you want to play games? I have lawyers too." Each message revealed more of the real James, the one who'd hidden behind her spreadsheets and strategies for 5 years. She screenshotted everything. The lawyer in her awakening from its pregnancy-induced slumber. Evidence was evidence even when it came from the man who'd once promised to love her until the stars burned out. In the walk-in closet, she paused at his section. 37 new suits in the past 3 months. Tom Ford, Brioni, Keaton. She remembered when they'd shared a studio apartment in Tribeca, when he wore the same jaws, a bank suit to every pitch meeting. She'd steam the wrinkles out each morning while he practiced his presentations, believing they were building something together. Her fingers traced the sleeve of a navy jacket. There was a long blonde hair on the collar. Victoria's shade, not hers. The front door slammed. "Olivia!" She didn't answer, continuing to pack with mechanical precision. Footsteps pounded up the stairs. James appeared in the doorway, still in his conference attire, his face a masterpiece of manufactured concern. "Jesus, Liv, I've been calling you." He moved toward her, arms outstretched, but stopped when she stepped back. "Baby, what's wrong?" Baby. The endearment sounded foreign now, like currency from a country that no longer existed. "The conference ran over," he continued, filling her silence with words. "You know how these tech crowds are. Then there was this networking thing, and Davidson from Sequoia was there." "With Victoria?" Olivia's voice was calm, clinical. He blinked. "Victoria? She's our new head of marketing. I told you about her." "No, you didn't." "I'm sure I mentioned." "You didn't." She zipped the suitcase closed. "Just like you didn't mention giving her my push gift, the bracelet you said was lost." His face cycled through emotions like a slot machine: surprise, calculation, indignation, before settling on wounded innocence. "Liv, you're being paranoid. This pregnancy has you—" "Stop." The word came out sharper than she intended. "Don't you dare blame this on the pregnancy. Don't you dare blame this on the babies you can't even bother showing up for. That's not fair. I'm building something here. For us, for them." He gestured toward her belly. "Every late night, every missed appointment, it's all for our family." "Our family?" She laughed, the sound brittle as winter branches. "Is that what you call it when you touch another woman's stomach on stage? When you slow dance with her at the after party you said was just quick drinks with investors?" His jaw tightened. "You were spying on me?" "It was live-streamed, James, to 20,000 people. Though I'm probably the only one who recognized my own jewelry on your mistress's wrist." "She's not—" He stopped, running a hand through his $100 haircut. "Look, Victoria is a valuable asset to the company. Maybe I've been spending too much time mentoring her, but—" "Mentoring," Olivia tested the word. "Is that what they're calling it now? Don't be crude. Don't be a cliché." They stared at each other across the chasm of their California king bed. When had he become a stranger? Was it gradual, like erosion? Or had he always been this person, and she'd simply been too busy building his empire to notice? "You're exhausted," he said finally, switching tactics. "High-risk pregnancy, hormones, your father's illness, you're not thinking clearly. Why don't you lie down? We can talk about this tomorrow, when you're rational." Rational. As if catching your husband's affair on live stream was somehow hysterical. As if she were some Victorian woman succumbing to the vapors instead of the person who'd structured the deal that got Montgomery Dynamics its Series B funding. "I am thinking clearly," she said, for the first time in 5 years. She pulled a suitcase off the bed. It was heavier than expected, or maybe she was just weaker than she'd thought. James made no move to help. "Where are you going?" "Connecticut, my parents' house." "You can't just leave." His voice hardened. "You're my wife. Those are my children you're carrying." "Your children?" She turned at the doorway. "When's my next appointment, James? What are their gestational weights? Which one is breech? What are their sexes?" His silence was answer enough. "That's what I thought." She dragged the suitcase toward the stairs. "Your lawyers can reach me through Catherine." "Olivia, stop." He followed her down the hallway lined with photos of their life together. Their wedding in the Hamptons, the ribbon cutting at Montgomery Dynamics' first office, the two of them ringing the opening bell at the NYSE. "You're overreacting. So I missed some appointments. So I've been focused on work. That doesn't mean that you're sleeping with her?" She paused at the top of the stairs. "No, you're right. It doesn't mean that. The way you touched her stomach means that. The way she wore my jewelry means that. The way you called me while standing next to her, like I was just another item on your to-do list, that means that." You don't have proof. There it was. Not a denial, but a legal argument. The real James finally showing himself. I don't need proof, she said. I'm not trying to convict you, James. I'm trying to survive you. She made it halfway down the stairs before the first cramp hit. Just a twinge. Nothing serious. Braxton Hicks, probably. Stress-induced. Nothing to worry about except that Dr. Peterson had specifically told her to avoid stress. And here she was, 7 months pregnant with twins, leaving her husband while he stood at the top of the stairs like a deity, surveying his domain. The second cramp was stronger. She gripped the banister, breathing through it. Olivia? James's voice changed, real concern breaking through. Are you okay? I'm fine. She wasn't fine. She was 35 years old, pregnant with twins, leaving the life she'd built with a man who'd replaced her like she was last year's iPhone. But she would be fine. She had to be. The twins needed her to be. By the time she reached the foyer, James had descended into full damage control mode. Let's be reasonable, he said. You can't just walk out. What about the company? The investors? The media? That's your first concern? The optics? Our first concern, Montgomery Dynamics, is as much yours as mine. Is it? She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Because my name's not on the door. My face isn't on the magazine covers. And according to the latest SEC filings, I don't own a single share. He had the grace to look uncomfortable. That was for tax purposes. You know that. I know a lot of things now. She opened the front door. Goodbye, James. This isn't over, he called after her. You'll be back. You need me. She turned one last time, looking at the man she'd once loved enough to rewrite her entire life. He stood in the doorway of their penthouse, backlit like the hero in his own story. But she'd been reading the wrong genre. This wasn't a romance. It was a tragedy. And she was done playing Ophelia to his Hamlet. No, James, she said quietly. I needed you. Past tense. The door closed with a soft click that echoed like a gunshot. In the elevator down, her phone buzzed one more time. A text from an unknown number. He doesn't deserve you. Never did. V. Olivia deleted it without responding. Victoria Sinclair might have won James, but she'd lost something far more valuable in the process. She just didn't know it yet. As the elevator descended 40 floors to street level, Olivia Montgomery made a decision. She wasn't going to fight for her marriage. She wasn't going to beg for attention from a man who gave it so freely to others. She was going to do something far more devastating. She was going to disappear. And James Montgomery was about to learn that the opposite of love wasn't hate. It was silence. The drive to Connecticut should have taken 90 minutes. It took Olivia 3 hours, stopping twice at rest stops to breathe through contractions that Dr. Peterson would definitely classify as unusual stress. Her back ached, the twins were restless, and every mile felt like a small victory against the gravitational pull of her old life. Her childhood home sat on 4 acres in Westport, a colonial that had seen better days. The construction company her father built from nothing was hemorrhaging money, and the house showed it. Peeling paint, a sagging porch, gutters that needed replacing. But it was home in a way the Central Park penthouse had never been. Olivia? Her mother, Helen, appeared on the porch, still in her nursing scrubs. What are you? Oh, honey. She didn't need to finish. Mothers knew. They always knew. Can I stay for a while? Olivia managed before the tears came. Helen Carter had raised 3 daughters and worked 40 years as a cardiac nurse. She'd seen enough heartbreak to recognize it from 50 feet away. She guided Olivia inside, past the kitchen where her father, Robert, was reviewing invoices at a table that had hosted 30 years of family dinners. Livy? He half stood, concern creasing his weathered face. What's wrong? Is it the babies? The babies are fine, Helen said firmly, reading the situation with the instinct of someone who'd navigated countless family crises. Livia's staying with us for a bit. Why don't you make some of that chamomile tea? Robert Carter had built his construction company on the principle of knowing when to ask questions and when to hammer nails. He chose hammering tea. In her childhood bedroom, surrounded by debate trophies and Harvard acceptance letters, Olivia finally let herself break. Her mother held her while she sobbed out the story, the live stream, the bracelet, the dancing, The phone call she'd never answer again. That bastard, Helen said quietly when Olivia finished. That absolute bastard. Mom, language. Oh, honey, you haven't heard anything yet. Helen smoothed Olivia's hair like she had when she was 7, and boys were mean on the playground. Men like James, they're hollow. They need constant filling, validation, attention, conquest. You filled him for a while, but pregnancy made you human, and hollow men can't love human women. I gave up everything for him, Olivia whispered. My career, my identity, Your power, Helen finished. You gave him your power. But here's the thing about power, sweetheart. You can take it back. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. James again. 31 missed calls now. Helen glanced at the screen and made a dismissive sound. You're not answering? Never again. Good girl. Helen's smile was fierce with maternal pride. Let him sit in the silence. Let him choke on it. Over the next 3 days, Olivia discovered something unexpected. Peace, almost. She woke to birds instead of ambulances, helped her mother in the garden, watched her father work on blueprints for projects that might never get built. The twins settled, as if they too recognized safety. But peace was expensive when you were married to James Montgomery. The first salvo came through Catherine, who drove up from the city looking harried. He's lost his mind, she announced, accepting Helen's coffee gratefully. Full Napoleon complex. He's called every mutual friend, spinning some story about postpartum depression. I haven't given birth yet, Olivia pointed out. Details. Catherine waved dismissively. He's also frozen the joint accounts, canceled your credit cards, and brace yourself, had your parking spot at the medical building revoked. Petty. Pathetic, Catherine corrected. But effective. How are you set for money? Olivia had run the numbers obsessively. I have about 18,000 in my personal account. Mom and Dad are letting me stay here, but babies are expensive, twins especially. Catherine pulled out her phone. I'm transferring. No, Olivia put her hand over Catherine's. I won't take your money. Then consider it a loan. With interest, aggressive interest, loan shark level. Kate, they sat in silence for a moment. Years of friendship making words unnecessary. Finally, Catherine asked the question Olivia had been dreading. What's your plan? Because you know he won't let this go. Men like James, they don't handle rejection well. In silence, that's the ultimate rejection. Olivia touched her belly where Twin B was doing what felt like advanced gymnastics. I'm going to document everything. Build a case. Protect my children. Our children, Catherine corrected. I'm their godmother. That makes them partially mine. And Aunt doesn't lose. That night, Olivia's father knocked on her door. Livy, can we talk? He sat on the edge of her bed, looking older than his 68 years. The cancer had taken weight from him, leaving him gaunt, but still strong, still her hero. Judge Montgomery came by the office today, he said quietly. Olivia's blood chilled. Richard was there. Made quite an entrance, federal judge, security detail, the whole show. Robert's jaw tightened. He explained that Montgomery Dynamics is considering acquiring a construction firm for their new headquarters project. Suggested Carter Construction could be in the running. Dad. He also mentioned that federal contracts have strict qualification requirements. Any family, complications, could disqualify a bid. He looked at his daughter, his eyes full of protective rage. He's threatening us, baby girl. Through me. Oh, Dad. Olivia felt something crack inside her chest. I'm so sorry. I never meant... Stop, his voice was firm. You're my daughter, my pregnant daughter, who's being mistreated by a man who promised to cherish her. You think I care about contracts? The company will survive or it won't, but I'll be damned if I watch my daughter go back to a man who treats her like property because he's got a judge in his pocket. He squeezed her hand. Your mother and I have been poor before. We survived. We'll survive again. But I wouldn't survive watching you disappear again, Livy. Not like you did these past few years. After he left, Olivia sat in the dark processing this new cruelty. James wasn't just punishing her. He was punishing her family. And Richard Montgomery, the man who'd raised James after finding him in foster care, was helping. Her phone lit up. Another unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her swipe. Mrs. Montgomery. The voice was female, older, nervous. My name is Patricia Sinclair. Victoria is my daughter. Olivia's hand tightened on the phone. I apologize for calling, but I needed to warn you. Victoria, she's done this before 3 times. She targets married men in tech, documents the affairs, then negotiates exit packages. It's how she's funded her lifestyle since college. Why are you telling me this? A long pause. Because this time is different. She's not just after money, she's pregnant. And she's convinced your husband to put her name on the company insurance as his domestic partner. The room spun. Olivia gripped the bedside table. She's pregnant? 11 weeks. She showed me the ultrasound. I thought you should know. Woman to woman, mother to mother. I'm sorry. The line went dead. Olivia sat in the dark, hand on her belly, feeling her twins move. James hadn't just betrayed her, he'd replaced her. Completely. Utterly. While she carried his children, he was building a new family with a woman who collected husbands like trophies. Her phone buzzed. James. Call number 47. She looked at the screen for a long moment. Then with steady hands, she opened his contact and selected block. But she screenshotted the call log first. Catherine was right. Documentation was everything. 2 weeks into her silence, James Montgomery learned what his wife had known for years. Olivia was the load-bearing wall of his life. Without her, things began to collapse. She knew because Catherine brought updates like a war correspondent from the front lines. The Q3 investor presentation was a disaster, Catherine reported, over green tea in Helen Carter's kitchen. Apparently, James couldn't answer basic questions about the financial projections. Because guess who actually built those models? Wild guess, the wife he told everyone was stepping back to focus on family? Olivia's voice dripped sarcasm. Bingo. Davidson from Sequoia actually asked where you were. James went red as your mom's tomatoes. Catherine scrolled through her phone. Oh, and Victoria posted another Instagram story from your apartment. She's redecorating your office. Former office, Olivia corrected, though the words stung. She'd picked every piece in that room, from the restoration hardware desk to the first edition Austen novels on the shelf. What's the theme? Modern gold digger? Aggressive minimalism. Everything's white and gold, like a Vegas wedding chapel. They laughed, but it was hollow. Olivia was 33 weeks pregnant, her ankles were swollen, and she'd had to switch to her mother's prenatal doctor because traveling to the city was increasingly difficult. The new doctor, a kind woman named Dr. Martinez, was concerned about Olivia's blood pressure. You're carrying a lot of stress for someone on bed rest, she said during the last appointment. These babies need you calm. Calm was a luxury Olivia couldn't afford. Not when her father came home each day grayer than before. Construction contracts mysteriously canceled. Not when her mother worked double shifts to cover expenses. Not when the legal letters started arriving. The first came on a Tuesday, delivered by a courier who looked apologetic. Law offices of Whitman, Crawford and Associates. James had hired the firm that handled Montgomery Dynamics' IPO preparation. Lawyers Olivia had vetted, had dinner with, had trusted. Petition for exclusive occupancy of marital residence. Motion for temporary support determination. Request for prenatal paternity confirmation. That last one made her see red. He's questioning whether the twins are his. She threw the papers at the kitchen wall, startling her mother's cat. After 5 years of marriage, after I went through IVF because his sperm count was low? It's a tactic, Helen soothed, gathering the scattered pages. He's trying to provoke a response. Don't give him the satisfaction. But James had more tactics in his arsenal. The gossip blogs picked up the story first. Tech CEO's wife abandons Manhattan for Connecticut mental health crisis. The articles were carefully crafted, full of sources close to the situation, who painted Olivia as unstable, possibly dangerous to her unborn children. Page 6 called me, Catherine said during her next visit. They wanted a quote about your recent erratic behavior. What did you tell them? That the only erratic behavior I'd witnessed was James thinking with his dick instead of his brain, but they didn't print that. The character assassination was surgical. Every blog post, every concerned friend quoted, every paparazzi photo of Olivia looking tired and pregnant painted the same picture. hysterical wife driven mad by pregnancy, abandoning her successful husband out of paranoid delusions. Then came the master stroke. Mrs. Carter? Dr. Martinez's receptionist called on a Thursday morning. I'm sorry, but we need to cancel your appointment today. Is Dr. Martinez sick? No, we've received a legal notice. There's some question about your insurance coverage and potential liability issues. Our legal department has advised us to pause treatment until it's resolved. Olivia hung up, numb. James had found a way to weaponize healthcare. Her OB-GYN in the city had already dropped her. Now this. She was 34 weeks pregnant with twins, one still breech, and running out of doctors. That evening, Sebastian Blackwood called. She almost didn't recognize the name when her mother handed her the phone. Then she remembered, the billionaire from Goldman days, the one whose company she'd saved with an 11th hour restructuring. Olivia, his voice was warm, careful. I heard about your situation. I wanted to reach out. My situation? She laughed bitterly. Which part? The public humiliation? The frozen assets? The medical blacklisting? All of it. His tone grew serious. I know we haven't spoken in years, but I remember what you did for my company. You saved everything I'd built when everyone else said it was impossible. I'd like to return the favor. Unless you can deliver twins, I don't think. My sister is chief of obstetrics at Presbyterian. She has a private practice, no insurance complications, no legal interference. I've already spoken to her. Olivia closed her eyes, overwhelmed by this unexpected kindness. Why would you do this? Because watching brilliant women be destroyed by insecure men makes me sick. And because I lost someone once due to medical complications during pregnancy. I won't watch it happen again if I can help it. I can't pay. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to get the medical care you need. Let me worry about the rest. After she hung up, Olivia cried for the first time since leaving James. Not from heartbreak, but from relief. Someone saw her. Someone valued her beyond her usefulness to James Montgomery. That night, her phone rang from an unknown number. She'd stopped answering them, but this one was local. Maybe the hospital? You stupid bitch. Victoria's voice was silk over steel. You think ignoring him makes you noble? It makes you pathetic. Victoria. Olivia kept her voice level despite her racing heart. To what do I owe the pleasure? He calls your name in his sleep, you know. Even when he's in bed with me, it's embarrassing. For both of us. Then perhaps you should find a different bed. Oh, I'm not going anywhere. See, unlike you, I understand James. He needs worship, adoration. And I'm very, very good at pretending to worship. Victoria's laugh was crystalline. The pregnancy helps. He's so protective of his son. Son? Didn't you know? I'm having a boy. James always wanted a boy first. Guess you couldn't even get that right. The cruelty was so calculated that Olivia almost admired it. Congratulations. I hope you get everything you deserve. I already have. Your husband, your home, your life. And soon your children will call me mommy too. James's lawyer says abandonment makes custody much easier to. Olivia hung up. Her hands shook as she blocked the number. Then, on instinct, she opened her recording app. She should have recorded that call. Evidence. Documentation. But she'd been too shocked, too hurt to think strategically. The twins shifted restlessly, responding to her stress. She placed both hands on her belly, humming the lullaby her mother used to sing. But even as she soothed her children, one thought burned bright. James had made a crucial mistake. He'd sent Victoria to provoke her, which meant the silence was working. It was driving him mad, making him sloppy. Good. Let him make more mistakes. She'd be ready next time. Because Olivia Montgomery might be down, but she was far from out. And soon, very soon, James would learn the price of underestimating the woman who'd built his empire from code and caffeine and quiet brilliance. The wolves might be circling, but she'd been raised by lions. At 35 weeks pregnant, Olivia discovered that revenge tasted like prenatal vitamins and small victories. The first victory came courtesy of Laura Bennett, Montgomery Dynamics' former CFO who'd been pushed out 6 months ago for pursuing other opportunities. I kept everything, Monica said over herbal tea at a small cafe near Westport. She slid a flash drive across the table. Every email where James took credit for your financial models. Every document showing you built the algorithm. Every board meeting minute where he presented your work as his. Why? Olivia palmed the drive, her heart racing. Because I have daughters. Because I watched him erase you piece by piece. And because Victoria Sinclair tried the same thing at my husband's company 3 years ago. Monica's smile was sharp. She didn't get him, but she got $250,000 in hush money. It's all documented here. The second victory arrived via Sebastian's sister, Dr. Elizabeth Blackwood, who turned out to be everything Olivia needed. Brilliant, discreet, and utterly unimpressed by legal intimidation. Twins look perfect, she announced during Olivia's first appointment at her private clinic. Baby A is head down, ready to go. Baby BB is still breech, but we have options. Your blood pressure is concerning, though. Have you been under stress? Olivia laughed until she almost cried. Right, stupid question. Dr. Blackwood made notes on her tablet. I want you on modified bed rest. And I mean it. No legal documents, no phone calls from toxic exes, no checking whatever character assassination is happening online. You need to be boring for the next few weeks. Can you do boring? I can try. She tried, for exactly 3 days. Then Helen burst into her room with news that made bed rest impossible. He's at the house, James. He's in our driveway with flowers and that woman. Olivia struggled upright, her belly making graceful movement impossible. Victoria's here? Bold as brass, they pulled up in his Maserati like they're visiting friends. Helen's face was granite. Your father's on the porch with his shotgun. Dad doesn't have a shotgun. He borrowed one from the neighbors. Come on, we're going out the back. But Olivia was done running, done hiding, done letting James control the narrative. No, help me up. And Mom, get your phone ready to record. She descended the stairs slowly, each step deliberate. Through the window, she could see them. Bob's in his weekend casual wear that cost more than most mortgage payments. Victoria in a flowing dress that emphasized her small bump. They looked like a catalog couple. Perfect. Plastic. False. Olivia opened the front door before they could knock. Olivia! James's face cycled through surprise, calculation, and settled on contrition. You look like a woman who's 35 weeks pregnant with twins? How observant. She didn't move from the doorway. What do you want, James? To talk. To work this out. He stopped, seeming to remember his audience. This is Victoria. I thought it was time you two met properly. The audacity of it stole Olivia's breath, bringing his pregnant mistress to meet his pregnant wife at her parents' home. It was either breathtaking cruelty or stunning stupidity. Victoria stepped forward, all false sweetness. Olivia, I've heard so much about you. James says you're brilliant with numbers. Was, past tense, just like our marriage. Olivia kept her voice level, aware of her mother recording from the living room window. Is there a point to this visit? Because Dr. Blackwood has me on bed rest, and standing here looking at the two of you is definitely stressing me out. Dr. Blackwood? James frowned. What happened to Dr. Peterson? She dropped me. Funny thing about legal intimidation. Doctors don't like liability. Olivia gripped the door frame as a Braxton Hicks contraction rippled through her. But you knew that would happen, didn't you? I don't know what you're implying. I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. You froze our accounts, canceled my insurance, had your father threaten mine, got me blacklisted from medical care while carrying high-risk multiples. She looked at Victoria. Hope you're taking notes. This is your future. Victoria's smile faltered slightly. James stepped forward. Liv, please. Can we talk inside, privately? No. I have a right to. You have no rights here. Robert Carter appeared beside his daughter, and yes, he was definitely holding a shotgun. This is private property, and you're trespassing. Mr. Carter, save it, son. I've seen how you treat family. Don't much care to hear what you'd say to strangers. Robert's voice was steady as his hands. You've got 30 seconds to get off my land. James's mask finally slipped, revealing the cold calculation beneath. Fine, Olivia, you should know I've filed for emergency custody. A hearing set for next week. My lawyers say abandonment and mental instability make a compelling case. especially with your recent erratic behavior." "What erratic behavior?" He smiled, the expression reptilian. "Fusing medical care for our children. Dr. Peterson's willing to testify about your missed appointments. Very concerning for someone claiming to put the babies first." The trap was elegant in its simplicity. Force her out of proper medical care, then use the lack of care against her. Olivia felt rage rise like bile, but before she could speak, Victoria touched James's arm. "We should go, baby. Stress isn't good for my pregnancy." The possessive emphasis on "my" was deliberate. So was the way she placed James's hand on her small bump, directly in Olivia's line of sight. "Of course." James looked at Olivia one more time. "Think about what's best for our children, Liv. They need stability, a real home, not whatever this is." They left in a spray of gravel and entitlement. Olivia stood in the doorway until the Maserati disappeared, then slowly sank onto the porch steps. "I'm going to lose them," she whispered. "He's going to take my babies." "Like hell he is." Catherine's voice made her jump. Her best friend emerged from behind the house, phone in hand. "I recorded the whole thing from the side. Got a lovely shot of him admitting to the financial abuse and medical sabotage." "When did you—" Your mom called me the second they pulled up. I broke speed limits." Catherine sat beside her, careful of Olivia's bulk. "That man just handed us gifts, bringing his pregnant mistress here, threatening you while you're visibly distressed. Judge Judy would eat him alive." But Olivia knew better. His father's a federal judge. His lawyers are sharks. And I'm the hormonal wife who abandoned the marital home. You know how this plays out. Not this time. Sebastian Blackwood's car pulled into the driveway. He emerged looking like controlled fury in a Tom Ford suit. "Mrs. Montgomery, I apologize for arriving unannounced, but Dr. Blackwood called. She said you might need legal assistance." "I can't afford—" "I have a team on retainer. Consider it an investment in justice." He looked toward the road where James had disappeared. Was that him? With the mistress. They're having a big pregnancy, the son he always wanted. Sebastian's expression darkened. Then he's forgotten that daughters grow up to be women, and women have long memories. That night, as Olivia lay in her childhood bed with twins tumbling inside her like acrobats, she made a decision. She was done being reactive, done letting James set the terms. Tomorrow, she would meet Sebastian's lawyers. She would take Monica's flash drive to the right authorities. She would start building a case that even a federal judge couldn't dismiss. Tonight, though, she would rest. She would grow her babies. She would gather her strength. Because James had made a critical error bringing Victoria here. He'd shown his hand, revealed his cruelty, demonstrated his tactics, and he'd done it all on camera. The war was far from over. But for the first time since leaving her penthouse prison, Olivia Montgomery felt something besides fear. She felt hope. Sebastian Blackwood's legal team operated out of a glass tower that scraped the Connecticut sky. Olivia sat in a conference room that probably cost more to furnish than her parents' mortgage, watching three of New York's most expensive lawyers dissect her life. "The financial abuse is clear-cut," said the lead attorney, Catherine Blake, her voice sharp as her cheekbones. "Freezing joint assets while you're pregnant? Textbook coercive control. The medical interference is harder to prove, but devastating if we can." "I have recordings," Olivia said, "and witnesses." "Good. We'll need everything." Margaret pulled up documents on the smart screen. "Now about Montgomery Dynamics. You wrote the core algorithm?" "Every line of code. The patent's in James's name, but I have the original development files. Timestamps. Version control showing my commits." The youngest lawyer, barely 30 but with eyes like a shark, leaned forward. "You could sue for intellectual property theft. Take half the company. More, maybe." "I don't want the company." Olivia shifted, her back screaming from the weight of the twins. "I want my children safe. I want to never see James again. I want—" She stopped, embarrassed by the emotion in her voice. "But you want justice," Sebastian said quietly from his corner. He'd insisted on attending, though he'd stayed silent until now, and you deserve it. Margaret nodded. "Here's what we do. File for emergency support immediately. Counterfile regarding custody with documentation of abuse. Subpoena the medical providers who dropped you. And Mrs. Montgomery, we go public." "Public?" "Court of public opinion matters. James has been controlling the narrative. Time to change that. But James had one more card to play. The contractions started at 2 a.m., 3 days before the custody hearing. Real ones this time, not practice. Olivia woke to wetness and pain and the terrifying realization that 36 weeks was too early, especially for twins. Mom! Her voice cracked with panic. The next hour blurred. Helen's efficient nursing hands, Robert's truck speeding through empty streets, Catherine meeting them at the hospital with Sebastian, somehow already there, having arranged for Dr. Blackwood to be waiting. Baby B flipped, Dr. Blackwood announced after a quick exam. She's breech again, and you're already 6 centimeters. We need to make decisions fast. Through the pain, Olivia heard familiar voices in the hallway. I'm her husband. Those are my children. Sir, you're not on the approved list. Do you know who I am? Who my father is? Olivia grabbed Catherine's hand. Don't let him in, please. But James had brought lawyers, and Victoria, because of course he had. This is a violation of my paternal rights, he announced, bursting into the room with security trailing. I demand. You demand nothing. Sebastian stepped between James and the bed. Despite giving up 6 inches and 30 pounds, he didn't budge. You're trespassing, again. And you are, James's voice dripped disdain, someone who actually cares about her welfare. Now get out before I have security throw you out. Gentlemen, Dr. Blackwood's voice cut through the testosterone. I have a patient in active labor with complications. Everyone out except immediate family and her support person. I'm immediate family, James insisted. I'm her support person, Catherine said firmly. But Olivia was done with other people fighting her battles. James, her voice was steady despite the contraction building. You want to be here? Fine. Answer one question. What are their names? What? Our twins. We discussed names for months. What did we decide? His silence stretched like taffy. Get out. Each word dropped like a stone. This isn't over. Security, Dar Blackwood's patience snapped. Remove this man and her, the blonde, trying to film this on her phone. As they were escorted out, Victoria called back, Good luck, Olivia. You'll need it. The next contraction hit like a freight train, derailing any response. Okay, but Blackwood said once the room cleared. Baby A is coming fast. Baby B needs a C-section. We can try for vaginal delivery, but whatever's safest, Olivia gasped. Please, just save my babies. The next 2 hours were a blur of pain and fear, and Catherine's steady voice reminding her to breathe. Sebastian paced the waiting room, fielding calls from lawyers. Helen held Olivia's hand while Robert stood guard outside. Alexander James arrived first, screaming and perfect at 5 pounds, 2 ounces. His sister, Sophia Helen, required an emergency C-section 40 minutes later. 4 pounds, 11 ounces of fighter who needed oxygen but breathed on her own within minutes. Olivia heard them before she saw them. 2 distinct cries that her body recognized at a cellular level. When the nurses placed them on her chest, skin to skin, she finally understood what love without conditions felt like. They're perfect, she whispered. Hi, babies. I'm your mom, and I'm never letting you go. She didn't notice James at the nursery window until a nurse mentioned it during shift change. Your husband's been standing there for 3 hours. Should we? He's not my husband. The words came easier than expected. And he's not on the approved visitor list. Through the glass partition, she could see him staring at the twins in their incubators. His expression was unreadable. Loss? Regret? Calculation? She didn't care anymore. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. They're beautiful. Victoria's voice was different, smaller. The nurses told me, when I asked. What do you want, Victoria? To warn you, again, he's planning something. I heard him on the phone with his father. Something about an emergency injunction, mental health evaluation. I think he's going to try to take them before you leave the hospital. Why are you telling me? A long pause. Because I lost my first baby 3 years ago. Different CEO, same story. I was 26 and stupid and thought I was special. Her voice cracked. I'm still stupid, but I'm not cruel enough to watch someone lose their babies. Not when I couldn't save mine. The line went dead. Olivia looked at her sleeping twins, at their perfect fingers and impossibly small noses. Then she called Catherine Blake. "How fast can you get here? We have a problem." The custody battle was about to begin before she even left the hospital. But this time, she had weapons James didn't expect. Truth, documentation, and a billionaire who'd decided that some investments were worth more than money. The war for her children had begun. Catherine Blake arrived at the hospital within 40 minutes, looking lethal in a black suit despite the 4 a.m. hour. She wasn't alone. Two junior associates flanked her like legal bodyguards. "Emergency injunction filed at midnight," she said without preamble, spreading documents on Olivia's hospital bed. "Psychiatric hold request. James claims you're exhibiting postpartum psychosis. Refusing to let him see his children is cited as evidence." "I just gave birth 6 hours ago," Olivia said, exhaustion making her voice raw. "To twins, by emergency C-section. Logic has no place in custody battles. He's got Dr. Patricia Hartman ready to testify that refusing the father access indicates severe mental disturbance, requiring immediate intervention." Who the hell is Dr. Patricia Hartman? Psychiatrist who specializes in custody evaluations. Also Richard Montgomery's golf partner. Margaret's smile was sharp. "But here's what James doesn't know. We've been busy too." She pulled out her tablet, revealing a series of documents. Laura Bennett's evidence was a goldmine. Turns out Victoria Sinclair has quite the history. 3 tech executives, 3 affairs, 3 payouts. Total take, $1.2 million. The IRS is very interested in her unreported income. That's... Olivia stopped as Alexander stirred in his bassinet, making tiny sounds. "Sorry, he's hungry again." "Feed your baby. I'll handle the legal terrorism." Margaret's expression softened fractionally. "You focus on them. Let us be your teeth." By 7 a.m., the hospital felt like a war zone. James had arrived with his legal team, camping in the waiting room. Richard Montgomery himself appeared at 8, federal judge status, wielded like a weapon. "This is ridiculous," he announced to anyone who'd listen. "A mother keeping a father from his newborn children? Clear signs of instability." Sebastian appeared at Olivia's door at 9, coffee in one hand, teddy bears in the other. "There's a crowd of reporters outside. Someone leaked the story." "James." Olivia was trying to nurse Sophia while Alexander slept. Every movement pulled at her incision site. "He's going to spin this as crazy wife keeps devoted father from twins." "Actually," Sebastian smiled, "I think it was Catherine. She's outside giving an interview about medical coercion and financial abuse. Brought receipts." On cue, Olivia's phone lit up with notifications. The story was spreading, but not the way James intended. Tech CEO accused of abandoning pregnant wife for Mistress. Montgomery Dynamics founder allegedly froze assets while wife was high risk. Federal judge father accused of threatening wife's family. By noon, the hospital administrators were in crisis mode. Mrs. Montgomery, the chief of staff, appeared personally, looking harassed. "We have a situation. Your husband's lawyers are demanding immediate access. They claim denying him violates his constitutional rights. And my patient's right to recover from major surgery without harassment?" Dr. Blackwood had arrived, radiating protective fury. "She's 12 hours post-op, still bleeding, blood pressure elevated, and you want to stress her with forced interaction with her abuser?" "Alleged abuser," the administrator corrected weakly. "I have security footage," Catherine announced, entering with her laptop. "From their house visit. Want to see him admit to freezing her accounts while she was pregnant? Or should we skip to the part where he brought his pregnant mistress to intimidate her?" The administrator retreated, but James had one more play. At 2 p.m., Child Protective Services arrived. "Mrs. Montgomery?" The social worker looked apologetic but firm. "We've received a complaint alleging child endangerment. I need to evaluate the situation." Olivia's world tilted. "Endangerment? They're 15 hours old." "The complaint states you're refusing appropriate medical care and exhibiting paranoid behavior by denying the father access. I'm refusing to let the man who financially abused me while pregnant stress me during recovery." Olivia forced her voice steady while her incisions screamed and her hormones crashed. "That's not paranoia, that's self-preservation." The social worker, badge-reading Maria Santos, surveyed the room. 2 clean, well-cared-for infants. A mother with clear eyes despite exhaustion, medical equipment showing stable vitals, support system present but not overbearing. May I? She gestured toward the babies. Of course, Maria examined the twins gently, checking their hospital bands, reviewing their charts. They seem well cared for. Nursing? Trying. It's harder than I expected. It always is. Maria's expression softened. Mrs. Montgomery, I've been doing this 15 years. I know retaliation when I see it, but I have to follow protocol. I need to interview you privately. Catherine started to protest, but Olivia nodded. It's okay, I have nothing to hide. For the next hour, Maria asked gentle but thorough questions about the marriage, the pregnancy, the separation. Olivia answered honestly, too exhausted for anything else. He made me invisible, she said finally. Erased me from the company I helped build. Told everyone I chose to step back. Then when I was pregnant and needed him most, he chose someone else, someone younger, someone who wasn't tired and swollen and reminded him of responsibility. And now he wants my babies. Not because he loves them, he doesn't even know their names, but because he can't stand losing. Because I walked away and didn't look back, and that's the one thing James Montgomery can't forgive. Maria made notes. The medical interference? Check with Dr. Peterson. Check with the prenatal clinic that dropped me. Check with anyone except his father's golf buddies. I will. Maria stood. Mrs. Montgomery, I'm closing this complaint as unfounded. But he'll file another. Men like this always do. Document everything. Record if legal in your state. Build your case like your life depends on it, because your children's does. After she left, Olivia finally cried. Not the pretty tears of movies, but ugly, body-shaking sobs that pulled at her incision and made her milk let down and reminded her that she was just a woman who'd had her body cut open to bring life into a world that seemed determined to punish her for it. Sebastian appeared with tissues and no words, which was exactly right. He simply sat, a steady presence, while she fell apart and slowly pieced herself back together. I can't do this, she whispered. He has everything, money, power. His father. You have something he doesn't. Sebastian's voice was certain. You have truth and rage and people who see you for exactly who you are. Is that enough? It has to be. That night, while Olivia dozed between feedings, her phone buzzed. Victoria. He's drunk, saying things about taking the babies to Switzerland. His father knows people. Please be careful. Olivia screenshotted the message and forwarded it to Margaret. Then she looked at her sleeping twins, memorizing their faces. I'm not losing you, she whispered. Not to him, not to anyone. You're mine, and I'm yours, and that's the only truth that matters. Outside, James Montgomery waited in his car, watching the hospital windows. Inside, Olivia Montgomery prepared for war. The battle was brutal, but she'd been underestimated her whole life. Time to show them what happened when cornered mothers fought back. 3 days post-birth, Olivia discovered that breast milk could be weaponized. I need samples, Catherine Blake announced, arriving at the hospital with a cooler. We're testing for stress hormones, proving the level of duress you have been under. You want to test my breast milk? In court? Cortisol levels don't lie, neither does the fact that you're producing pink milk. That's blood from the trauma and stress. Judge Martinez loves medical evidence. Judge Martinez, not Judge Montgomery. Margaret had worked miracles getting the case reassigned, citing conflict of interest. Richard Montgomery was furious, but even federal judges couldn't override clear judicial ethics. The twins were thriving despite the chaos. Alexander had his father's dark hair, but Olivia's determined chin. Sophia was smaller but fiercer, gripping fingers with surprising strength. They knew their mother's voice, turning toward her even in sleep. Mrs. Montgomery? A nurse appeared, looking uncomfortable. There's a situation in the NICU. Olivia's blood ran cold. The twins? They're fine, but someone tried to add a name to their approved visitor list. Someone claiming to be their grandmother? My mother's already on the list. This woman said she was Patricia Montgomery, Mr. Montgomery's mother. James was adopted. His adoptive mother died 5 years ago. Olivia was already reaching for her phone. Security, now. But the damage was done. Within an hour, photos surfaced on social media. Heartbroken father denied access to newborn twins, and grandmother turned away from NICU. Never mind that the grandmother was an actress James had hired. Classic James, Catherine muttered, scrolling through Twitter. Create a scene, control the narrative. It's working. Olivia watched the comment sections fill with vitriol about cruel mothers denying fathers their rights. They don't care about truth. Then we give them better truth. Sebastian had been quiet until now, working on his laptop in the corner. James filed patents for the Montgomery dynamics algorithm. Public record. Except the metadata shows something interesting. He turned the screen towards them. Every core file was created on a computer registered to Olivia Carter, your maiden name, 2 years before you married, before Montgomery Dynamics existed. You found the proof? Laura Bennett found it. I just hired the forensic analyst to verify it. His smile was sharp. Your code, your innovation, your company, he just stole it. Margaret's eyes gleamed. This changes everything. We're not just fighting for custody. We're fighting for intellectual property theft, corporate fraud, potential criminal charges. You don't want the company, I know, but he doesn't know that. And leverage is leverage. That afternoon, discharge day finally arrived. Olivia had never been so grateful to leave a building, but James had one more card to play. Olivia Montgomery? A man in a suit appeared as she was wheeled toward the exit, twins in their car seats. You're being served. Emergency custody evaluation. Immediate surrender of the children pending psychiatric assessment. Filed 1 hour ago by Judge Richard Montgomery in federal court. He can't do that, Catherine protested. Different jurisdiction. He's claiming federal interest due to interstate commerce implications. The process server looked apologetic. You have 2 hours to appear. She just had surgery, Helen snapped. She can barely walk. Mom, get the babies to the car. Olivia's voice was steel. Kate, call Margaret. Sebastian, already sending the car around. He was texting rapidly and calling every media contact I have. He wants to play dirty. Let's show him what that looks like. 2 hours later, Olivia stood in federal court, incision screaming, milk leaking through the pads in her bra, facing the man who'd raised her husband. Richard Montgomery looked like what he was, old money convinced of its own righteousness. Your Honor, the mother's erratic behavior poses clear danger to these newborns. Refusing access to their father, paranoid delusions about persecution. Objection. Catherine Blake rose smoothly. My client isn't paranoid. She's documented. Exhibit A through, let's see, Exhibit Q. She began laying out evidence. Bank statements showing frozen accounts, medical records showing dropped coverage, security footage of the home visit, phone records of 47 unanswered calls, screenshots of Victoria's social media posts from Olivia's former home. This isn't paranoia, Margaret continued. This is a systematic campaign of abuse designed to destabilize a pregnant woman and steal her children. These are baseless accusations. Are they? Margaret pulled up her tablet. Your Honor, I have here sworn affidavits from 3 other women who've experienced similar patterns with Mrs. Sinclair. Apparently, targeting married executives and documenting affairs for profit is her business model. Objection. Relevance? Highly relevant, given that Mr. Montgomery chose this particular woman to replace his pregnant wife. Either he's complicit in her schemes or dangerously naive. Neither suggests fitness for custody. Judge Martinez, a small woman with sharp eyes, studied the evidence. Mr. Montgomery, approach. Richard Montgomery clearly expected deference. He got none. Judge Montgomery. Judge Martinez's voice could have frozen hell. Are you seriously standing in my courtroom, using your federal position to file emergency motions for your son, after threatening the maternal grandfather's business? I don't know what you're implying. I'm not implying, I'm stating. This is judicial misconduct at minimum, criminal conspiracy at worst. She turned to the clerk. Contact the Judicial Ethics Board immediately. Your Honor, sit down. Richard Montgomery sat. Mrs. Montgomery, Judge Martinez's voice gentled. I've reviewed the evidence. The emergency motion is denied. Full custody hearing scheduled for 6 weeks. Until then, temporary sole custody to the mother. The father may have supervised visitation, 2 hours weekly, at a court-appointed facility. This is outrageous. James shot to his feet. What's outrageous, Judge Martinez continued, is a man who abandons his pregnant wife, freezes her assets, interferes with her medical care, then claims she's unfit because she protected herself. Bailiff, if Mr. Montgomery speaks again, find him in contempt. James's face went purple, but he stayed silent. Outside the courthouse, media waited. Catherine had done her work well, but it was Sebastian who surprised everyone. Mr. Blackwood, why are you here? A reporter shoved a microphone forward. Because I believe in justice and investment. He looked directly at the cameras, which is why Blackwood Ventures is funding a full investigation into intellectual property theft at Montgomery Dynamics. We have evidence that the core technology was created by Olivia Montgomery, not James. Any investors concerned about their stakes should contact our legal team. The explosion was immediate. Phones started ringing. Reporters scrambled. James's lawyers went white. In the car, Olivia finally exhaled. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. Sebastian's voice was quiet. He tried to destroy you. The least I can do is return the favor. This isn't over, Catherine warned. He'll come back harder. Let him. Olivia looked at her sleeping twins. I'm done being afraid. Done being silent. Done pretending I don't matter. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. You won. Victoria's voice was strange, hollow. I'm leaving. Tonight. Before he realizes I warned you. Victoria, take care of your babies, Olivia. Don't let him break you like he broke me. The line went dead. That night in her childhood bedroom with her twins finally safe beside her, Olivia nursed her babies and planned her future. Not revenge, that was too small, but rebirth. James Montgomery thought he'd won by taking everything. He was about to learn what happened when you left a brilliant woman with nothing left to lose. 6 weeks later, Olivia Montgomery walked into the custody hearing looking like a different woman. The baby weight was dropping, her eyes were clear, and she wore the kind of quiet confidence that came from surviving the unsurvivable. James, by contrast, looked rough. His company was under investigation. His mistress had vanished with rumors of FBI cooperation. His father was facing ethics charges. The golden boy was tarnishing in real time. All rise for Judge Martinez. The custody hearing was supposed to be simple. It became anything but. Your Honor, James's new lawyer, the third in 6 weeks, began. My client has been systematically denied access to his children. Supervised visitation was offered. Catherine Blake interrupted smoothly. He's attended exactly 1 session. Left after 20 minutes when Alexander cried. The facility was substandard. The facility was court-appointed. Judge Martinez's patience was already thin. Mr. Montgomery, would you like to explain why you've missed 5 of 6 scheduled visits? I've been dealing with fraudulent accusations about my company. James's voice carried the entitled whine of a man unused to consequences. Olivia's vendetta is not Olivia's vendetta. Sebastian Blackwood entered the courtroom like he owned it, which, given his net worth, wasn't far from true. Your Honor, I asked to testify as a witness to corporate fraud. Objection, James's lawyer scrambled. This is a custody hearing. Everything's connected, Judge Martinez said. I'll allow it. Sebastian took the stand with documents that made James go pale. Montgomery Dynamics' core algorithm was created by Olivia Carter in 2019, sir. I have the Git commits, the development logs, the email where Mr. Montgomery specifically asked her to put the patent in his name for tax purposes. Those are private communications. Actually, they're company communications from servers here I now own. Sebastian smiled. Did Mr. Montgomery not mention? I acquired a controlling stake in Montgomery Dynamics yesterday. The board voted no confidence. He's no longer CEO. The courtroom erupted. Order! Judge Martinez banged her gavel. Mr. Blackwood, while fascinating, how does this relate to custody? Character, Your Honor. A man who steals his wife's work, erases her contributions, then attempts to steal her children shows a pattern. He doesn't want these twins. He wants to win. That's slander. It's math. Olivia spoke for the first time. Your Honor, may I? Judge Martinez nodded. Olivia stood, steady despite the exhaustion of 6 weeks with newborn twins. James attended one visitation. He didn't know Alexander prefers to be held upright, didn't notice Sophia's birthmark, called them the babies because he couldn't remember which was which. He doesn't want custody, he wants control. I'm their father. Biologically? Yes, but father is a verb, not a noun. She turned to face him fully. When did they last eat? What's their sleep schedule? Which one has reflux? What song calms Sophia? Why does Alexander need special formula? Silence. Your Honor, Catherine Blake stood, we'd like to present evidence of Mr. Montgomery's actual priorities during the separation. The photos were damning. James at nightclubs while Olivia was hospitalized. Instagram posts from Vegas during scheduled visitations. Victoria's deleted TikToks showing them shopping for baby furniture for her pregnancy, not his existing children. Where is Mrs. Sinclair? Judge Martinez asked. Unknown, James's lawyer admitted. She left the state 6 weeks ago. After cooperating with federal investigators, Margaret added helpfully, apparently she kept excellent records of financial transfers and recordings. So many recordings. James's face went from pale to gray. I've heard enough. Judge Martinez's voice could have cut glass. Mr. Montgomery, you abandoned your pregnant wife for another woman, financially abused her, attempted to weaponize the legal system against her, showed minimal interest in your children except as pawns. Your Honor, I'm not finished. Custody is about the best interests of the children, not the ego of the parents. She looked at Olivia. Mrs. Montgomery, I'm awarding you sole physical and legal custody. Mr. Montgomery may have supervised visitation once monthly, pending completion of parenting classes and therapy. This is ridiculous. What's ridiculous, Judge Martinez continued, is thinking you could treat the mother of your children as disposable and face no consequences. Court dismissed. Outside, media swarmed, but Olivia only had eyes for the Lincoln town car where her mother waited with the twins. Mommy won, she whispered, kissing each tiny head. We're safe now. Olivia, James appeared, his lawyers trying to hold him back. Please, they're my children too. She looked at him, really looked, saw the boy who'd been abandoned, who'd built walls of achievement to hide the fear that he was unlovable, who'd destroyed everything good in his life because he couldn't believe he deserved it. I know, she said quietly, and when you're ready to be their father, really ready, call me, but not before. I lost everything. No, James, you threw it away. There's a difference. She walked away, twins secure in their car seats, toward the life she'd built from scratch. Behind her, James Montgomery stood alone, finally understanding the price of choosing conquest over connection. That night, Olivia sat in her childhood room, nursing Alexander while Sophia slept. Her phone buzzed. Congratulations, Sebastian texted. Phase 1 complete. Ready for Phase 2? Phase 2 was rebuilding. Not revenge, but renaissance. Montgomery Dynamics would become something new under her leadership. The board had already reached out. The algorithm she'd created could help millions if used ethically, but first she had babies to raise, songs to sing, stories to tell, a life to live on her own terms. James had chosen his mistress. Olivia had chosen herself. Looking back, she'd gotten the better deal. 1 year later, the invitation arrived on ivory cardstock, elegant and unexpected. You are cordially invited to celebrate the marriage of Sebastian Blackwood and Olivia Carter. Catherine held it up, grinning. Carter? You're taking your maiden name back? Montgomery was never really mine. Olivia adjusted Sophia on her hip while Alexander played with blocks at their feet. Just borrowed, like everything else in that life. They sat in the garden of Olivia's new home, a restored Victorian in Westport that Sebastian had helped her buy, but she'd insisted on paying for herself. The twins were thriving at 13 months, walking and babbling and filling every corner with chaos and joy. So, Catherine's grin widened. Sebastian finally made his move? Other way around, actually. Olivia smiled, remembering. I kissed him, After the board meeting where they officially made me CEO of the restructured company, he was explaining profit projections and I just knew. Knew what? That I was ready. That the twins and I weren't looking for rescue anymore. We were whole, just us three, which meant I could choose him because I wanted to, not because I needed to. The wedding was small, family, close friends, the twins toddling down the aisle throwing flowers with more enthusiasm than accuracy. Sebastian cried when he saw her. She cried when he promised to love her children as his own. "Do you take this woman?" the officiant asked. "Every day for the rest of my life," Sebastian answered, making their small audience laugh. "Do you take this man?" "I do." Simple words, weighted with the knowledge of what marriage could become if you chose wrong. But Sebastian had proven himself in 1,000 small ways, showing up for pediatrician appointments, reading bedtime stories, never trying to replace their father but simply being present. During the reception, Olivia noticed a familiar figure at the edge of the property. James. He looked different, older, humbler. The arrogance had been scraped away by loss, leaving something raw but perhaps more honest. "5 minutes," she told Sebastian, who nodded understanding. She met James by the garden gate, wedding dress rustling in the evening breeze. "Congratulations," he said quietly. "You look happy." "I am." "The twins?" "Walking, talking." Sophia says Dada to Sebastian. She watched him flinch. "But she'd say it to you too, if you earned it." "I've been going to therapy." The admission seemed to cost him. "Dealing with things, my adoption, my fears, the ways I sabotaged us." "Good. I'm not asking for forgiveness or another chance. He pulled out an envelope. "I wanted to give you this." Inside was a deed transfer. The penthouse. In her name alone. "James, it should have always been yours. You made it a home. I just lived there." He managed a sad smile. "Be happy, Liv. You deserve it." He walked away before she could respond, back to his car where someone waited. Not Victoria, but a woman his own age with kind eyes and patient body language. Maybe he was learning too. "Everything okay?" Sebastian appeared, protective but not possessive. "Everything's perfect." She took his hand, walking back to their reception. "Just closing a chapter." Later, as they danced while the twins played with Helen and Robert, Sebastian whispered, "Any regrets?" "One has." At his startled look, she smiled. "I wish I'd kissed you sooner." The reception wound down as twins reached their limits. Olivia found herself in the kitchen with her mother, washing dishes like they had through 1,000 family gatherings. "You did it," Helen said softly. "You rebuilt everything." "Not everything, something entirely new." "That's my girl." Helen dried a plate, casual. "Oh, did I mention? Your father's company got the contract for the new children's hospital. Anonymous donor insisted on Carter Construction." Olivia glanced through the window at Sebastian, who was teaching Alexander to dance. "How anonymous?" "Very." Helen's smile was knowing. "Sometimes good things just happen to good people." "Mom." "What? I'm just saying, the universe has a way of balancing scales." That night, after the guests had gone and the twins were asleep, Olivia and Sebastian sat on their porch watching fireflies. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For seeing me when I couldn't see myself, for waiting until I was ready, for loving my children, for the children's hospital contract." "I don't know what you're talking about." His poker face was terrible. "For being you," she finished. "Thank you for being brave enough to try again," he replied. "I know what that cost." They sat in comfortable silence, two people who'd found each other not in the desperate need of rescue, but in the quiet choice of partnership. "I love our life," she said simply. "I love our family," he agreed. Inside, one of the twins cried out. "A dream, nothing serious." They both started to rise, then laughed. "Rock, paper, scissors," Sebastian suggested. "You're on." She won. He went anyway, because that's what real partners did. Showed up even when it wasn't their turn. 18 months ago, James Montgomery had chosen his mistress over his pregnant wife. That choice had shattered Olivia's world, sent her into silence and struggle in the fight of her life. But sometimes destruction was just creation wearing a disguise. James's betrayal had freed her to find her voice. His abandonment had taught her she was enough alone. His cruelty had shown her what love wasn't, making space to discover what it was. The twins stirred again. This time, Olivia went, finding both babies sitting up in their cribs, babbling to each other in their secret language. "Hi, loves," she whispered. "Couldn't sleep?" "Mama!" Sophia reached up. "Mama!" Alexander echoed. She gathered them both, walking to the window where moonlight painted the garden silver. In the distance, she could see the lights of the city where she'd once lived a different life. "See that?" she whispered. "Mama used to live there, in a tall tower like a princess, but it wasn't a happy tower." "No?" Sophia asked, her vocabulary exploding daily. "No, so Mama left. And you know what she found?" "What?" Alexander leaned his head against her shoulder. "Home." Sebastian appeared in the doorway, hair mussed from sleep. "Room for one more?" They made room. They always would. Later, the twins finally back asleep. Olivia lay beside her husband thinking about the journey. The pain had been real. The fear, the loss, the moments when she thought she couldn't survive. All real, but so was this. The quiet breathing of healthy children. The solid presence of a partner who chose her daily. The home built on truth instead of pretense. Her phone buzzed. Victoria Sinclair, after a year of silence. Saw the announcement. "Congratulations. You won." Olivia typed back. "We all did eventually." Even James? She thought about his therapy admission, the woman in his car, the deed he'd signed over. "Maybe, I hope so. You're a better person than me." "No, just a tired mom who learned that happiness is the best revenge." "Take care, Olivia." "You too, Victoria. You too." She deleted the conversation, then blocked the number. Some doors needed to stay closed. "Everything okay?" Sebastian murmured. "Everything's perfect." And for the first time in her life, it actually was. Not the perfection of curated social media or magazine covers. Not the false shine of a life built on lies. But the messy, beautiful, real perfection of a life chosen consciously, built carefully, loved completely. James had thought silence meant surrender. He'd been wrong. Silence had been her cocoon. And when she'd finally emerged, she'd grown wings. The twins would know their father if he earned it. They'd know their mother had fought for them. They'd know that families came in all forms, that love was a choice made daily, that sometimes the best thing to come from breaking was the chance to rebuild. "I love you," she whispered to Sebastian. "I love you back," he replied. "All three of you." "Four," she corrected softly. He went still. "Four?" Surprise. His joy lit the darkness. Outside, dawn began its daily resurrection. Inside, Olivia Montgomery, no, Olivia Blackwood, held her growing family close and gave thanks for unanswered calls, for silence that spoke volumes, for the destruction that had led to this reconstruction. Sometimes the end was just the beginning in disguise. And sometimes, if you were very lucky, your beginning looked like this: healthy children, honest love, and a future built on the radical act of choosing yourself first. James had chosen his mistress. Olivia had chosen herself, and that had made all the difference.